Another thing that I predicted will happen has happened. How do I do this? Do I have a crystal ball? Do I foresee the future? But looky here. People from California are voting with their feet and are going to Mexico City. They are suggesting that Mexico is a better place to live than California, the peak of progressive ideology, where all the forward-thinking people of humanity have gathered together, and they have created one of those best places to live on Earth, right? Because that's what the Democrats do. They create utopias. And yet people are going to Mexico City, much to the dismay of the locals. Of course, the journalists are saying, oh, it's about skin color. It's like, we're the only brown people here and white people are coming. And no, it's about money. That's what it's about. It's not about skin color. It's about finances. It's about the dollar. You see, the CEO of Starbucks had the cojones. He had the balls to say what's actually happening. Despite the fact that Starbucks is witnessing a lot of demand for its coffee, it's very difficult to have business when the streets are filled with homeless people, with people trafficking drugs, where you have people with mental illnesses going around and harassing the employees and the customers, and the police isn't doing anything because the police is being defunded both morally and financially in some cases. And you have this entire ideology of caring about the criminal. Like, no, we need to give compassion and empathy for the criminal. And when you do that, then society becomes the victim of the criminal. So a lot of businesses are shutting down because of the huge crime wave, because of the huge wave of homelessness. On top of that, you have the progressive, forward-thinking Democrats that in their infinite wisdom during the riots consider that, oh, it's okay, like businesses are insured. Like, who cares if a Starbucks burned down? They're not insured. Okay, and those businesses that got shut down are probably never going to open again. And again, like, I'm in Eastern Europe, all right? Like, I was told to believe that my country has a problem with criminality, but what I'm seeing in the United States is shocking. I mean, only in the last couple of months, a woman getting raped in a train while other people were there. Like, this would never fly in my country. This would never happen. Like, if you tried something like that, the other people that are there would immediately stop you. You had a GOP runner-up surviving an assassination attempt, and the next day, the guy was out on the streets again with bail. Like, this is an unbelievable level of crime. Okay, like, I'm just reading the newspapers and I'm seeing this, and it's not like such events don't happen in other places, but the way they deal with the events and the way that some of those events are so shocking that I can understand why people don't want to live there. And secondly, another reason that people are living is the high rent prices. Now, there's a lot of reasons why the rent is high in the United States. It would be disingenuous of me to say that it's just one thing. But I think what really broke the camel's back, I think like the last straw, the last nail in the coffin when it comes to affordable rent, is probably the eviction moratorium issued by the CDC. So, the Center of Disease Control in the United States is not a governing body. It doesn't have executive powers. The only thing that they were supposed to do is to be an advisory board. Like, they collect information about various illnesses, and they advise politicians on how to treat them. They aren't supposed to set policy. However, during the pandemic, because the Democrats were in charge, and there seemed to be a very tight-knit community between them and the CDC, a lot of Democrats asked the CDC to pass an eviction moratorium. So what this means is that the people who gave rent all of a sudden weren't allowed to kick the tenant out if he doesn't pay or for whatever reason, right? So this was, it's like, well, it's a pandemic. We can't kick people out of their homes, right? Because it's a pandemic. They need to stay inside, stay safe. So the government literally, for a period of time, took away the private property from citizens, and they were acting like a fascist state. They were acting like Nazi Germany. Like, technically, it's your property, but the government tells you what you are and aren't allowed to do with it. So, again, like, they sold this as it's like fighting the pandemic. So a bank could kick a person out for not paying mortgage, but you as a person weren't able to kick a tenant out if they don't pay the bills. So what ends up happening is, of course, no one wants to rent anymore. Right? Like, it's supply and demand. Like, if people realize, holy shit, so at any point the government can just decide that the property I'm renting is not mine anymore. Oh, well, if that's the case, I'll just sit on it. And hopefully in the future it's going to become more expensive and I can make some money off of it. Like, I can use it the same way people trade stocks. I have it now, it's at X amount, and maybe in 10 or 20 years it's going to be 2 times X amount and I can be rich. So that's what happened. Like, a lot of people refuse to rent. I actually know people in the United States which rented previously. They refuse to rent. And then you also have other people that lost their jobs because the government wanted to keep them safe. Like, remember, we can fuck down the economy. As long as we keep one person safe, it's all worth it. So, of course, a lot of people had to sell their homes. They had to sell whatever they had. And who bought the homes? Well, BlackRock bought the homes, like big corporations, slumlords. This is what the left is like, okay? Like, this is what the Democrats salivate about. You know, they say they don't like the landlord. No, the reality is they don't like the old landlord as the grandma. They hate her. But they love BlackRock, you know? They love Morgan and Pierce. They love the banks. Right? Like, this is who the Antifa are simping for. This is what the Democrats love. The big corporations. Well, the big corporations, they get to set a high enough price that few people can avoid. They get to have standards. They get to have security. Doesn't matter if the cops aren't coming. They have their own private security force. So this is what's happening. This is why the rent goes up, because the number of buildings available for rent has shrunk. So now you have all these workers from California, the best, most empowered city on earth that promotes diversity, inclusion, and equity. And it has its people moving away from there into Mexico. And of course, it's creating the place for Mexicans to be unlivable, because now these people who have money from California are going into these Mexican cities. They have very strong purchasing power, so all the prices are exploding there and they're going up. Well, what are they going to do? You know, oh, now the Mexicans are complaining, right? Oh, well, they're a bunch of racists, aren't they? Like, why are they against immigration? Legal migration. Horrible, right? So, this is what globalism does. And I said that this is going to happen. Like, I said that this is going to happen 4 years ago. I predicted it. And it's normal, right? Because people don't really care about race or whatever. People care about the money. Like, where the money is, that's where people want to go. People want money and they want security, right? So they want the money, but they also want to keep the money that they're making. They want a place with security where they don't get robbed on the streets, where they don't get raped in the subway. I know that Mexico is also a dangerous place and it has its own crime rates. But it depends on the location. Like, not all cities in Mexico are bad. Not all places are bad. And again, even if they are bad, I don't think they're California worth of bad. So yeah, like, people are voting with their feet, and you get to see this huge movement of people coming, and it's going to be a lot of leftists, right? Like, very forward, progressive thinking people that are going there. By the way, another reason why the rents are high is also because of the leftists. Like, they have the housing authorities, and they're, oh, yes, we care about the homeless. Oh, my God, our immigrants, our hearts are bleeding for them. What? You want to create, like, a big tenant block to house all these immigrants? Oh, yeah, but, like, do you have to do it here? Like, do you have to have all these poor people in our neighborhood? Like, no. You know, we can't do that. Like, do it in another neighborhood. And another neighborhood is the same thing. Fucking hypocrites. That's what they are. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.